Okay, it's day 4 of the Commander deck precon reveals. We've seen 3 so far, and I'm going to be honest with you, they've all been a bit of a letdown. Despite the enchantment one being better than the others, these carry an $80 to $85 price tag for quote-unquote MSRP, and so the Eldrazi deck's going to have a lot of ground to cover to make it worthwhile. Let's jump into the video. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the video. If you didn't know, I've launched a channel membership called Loveshack Lounge. For $5 per month, you can join and get immediate access to exclusive badges, emotes, and the ability to vote on topics for future videos, as well as early access to certain videos and exclusive deck profile videos posted monthly, plus monthly product giveaways. And for the month of August, anyone who joins the channel, even if you cancel your membership later, will receive a free Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh! Booster pack, all of which will be open live on stream at the end of the month. To join, click the join button that'll appear on mobile or on desktop platforms, and I hope to see you there. Alright, I think this one had the most hype. I was pretty hyped for this. I have friends who play Eldrazi who were pretty hyped for this, and this is definitely the most expensive precon based on pre-orders, so let's hope for good things. I have to tell you guys, reading over these cards quickly before getting started, I am very, very impressed. Some of these are really freaking good. So let's actually just jump right into them. Starting off with Zuladoc Void Gorger. This is the face commander. We did talk about this card a little bit when it was first announced, but we'll go over it again quickly. It is 5 and a colorless waste. We're just going to call it waste for the purpose of the video, meaning it has to be a colorless mana. Colorless spells you cast from your hand with mana value 7 or greater have double cascade, basically meaning you cascade twice. That is insane, because you can basically play an Eldrazi, or any colorless really, but just, using, like, say, Ulamog for an example, and then cascade twice into other big things. Absolutely wild. I don't know how good of a commander this is going to be, because you're limited in terms of your deck building, but in decks like Blue-Green Eldrazi, that you certainly just play this and combine it with your other stuff, ramp into it quickly, and you can start popping off. This is a really, really good card, and I think it's going to see play in Eldrazi in general, though, like I said, I do not know exactly how I feel about it as a commander overall, but still, very, very good, very noteworthy. Omarthis Ghostfire Initiate is the other face commander here. Legendary creature Spirit Naga. It is double X for its cost, and it enters battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it, so basically for every 2 mana you pay, it enters with 1 counter. Whenever you put 1 or more +1/+1 counters on another colorless creature, you may put a +1/+1 counter on Omarthis. When Omarthis dies, manifest a number of cards from the top of your library equal to the number of counters on it. Manifest is basically taking the top card, putting it face down as a 2/2 creature, and you can turn it face up at any time for its mana cost. So this is pretty cool. It's got like Hangerback Walker vibes. I definitely think in like a modular artifact type deck, this could see some pretty good, ability. But in general, it's not necessarily directly contributing to the Eldrazi strategy, but it still carries a lot with its ability there, giving you, I guess, at worst, some delayed draw. This is kind of interesting though. So if you pay 4 mana, it comes out with 2 counters, and then it dies, you manifest 2. That's basically the general consensus of how it works. I don't think it's not going to be good as a commander necessarily, but there's certainly places for it, and it'll definitely be a card that you can slot into decks. Speaking of Manifest, Oogens Mastery is a 4-drop with some sweet artwork there. Enchantment, whenever you cast a colorless creature spell, manifest the top card of your library. Put it onto the battlefield face down as a 2/2 creature. Turn it face up anytime for its mana cost if it's a creature card. Whenever you attack with creatures with total power 6 or greater, you may turn a face down creature you control face up. So that obviously bypasses that mana restriction, and in a deck like Eldrazi or any big, beefy, colorless creature deck, you're going to be attacking with some pretty powerful creatures, and because it doesn't even have to be a single creature, it's not going to be super hard to pull this off. So imagine you manifest something like a Void Winnower, and then you're able to turn it up just by attacking with a few other things without having to pay its mana cost. I mean, you can see where that kind of comes into play, and can be a really powerful option. So this is pretty cool, and just, manifesting, getting some extra 2/2 creature tokens out on the field is certainly not bad either. Rise of the Eldrazi. I just want to say quick, the artwork on these cards is absolutely unbelievable. They did a crazy cool job with this, and it's just awesome to see Eldrazi's kind of getting some love, even though we haven't seen them in main sets in a while. I do hold out hope that they will come back at some point, and I'm sure with the multiverse thing and all of that, it's certainly a possibility. But wow, just really cool. This is 9 and 3 wastes. It cannot be countered. Destroy target permanent. Target player draws 4 cards. Take an extra turn after this one. Oh, this is absolutely crazy, but it's also pretty costly. The thing is, in decks like this, it's pretty easy to stack mana quickly. You've got cards like Soul Ring, Ancient Tomb. You've got cards like Temple of the False Gods. I mean, Forsaken Monument can double your colorless mana. Like, it's not as hard to stack up to that as it is to certain other things. You've even got, like, Forsaken Monument and Basalt Monolith combo in Commander where you can go infinite colorless mana, and the deck can basically just pop off and have a field day. So, I don't necessarily think this card is, like, groundbreaking. I don't think, because of the cost, but if you guys, feel differently about it, certainly let me know in the comments. This is just, again, initial reactions. I was wrong about one of them yesterday, the Ghoul Enchantment. A lot of people pointed out to me how really good it is, so maybe this is better than I'm giving it credit for, but I do think cards like All Is Dust are pretty good to do something similar. The extra turn is sort of what you're really getting out of this here. It's just, getting to 12 mana is not that hard in the Eldrazi deck. Skittering Cicada is a 3-drop insect with flash. You may cast colorless spells as though they had flash. Whenever you cast a colorless spell, this card gets trample and +X, where X is that spell's mana value. Again, that can potentially be insane. You can basically cast Ulamog, and then this thing is +10/+10, or cast, any of your big creatures or colorless spells in general that have a high mana cost, and you just get extra pressure, extra damage on board. It's really not a bad card, and it's a good inclusion that, the flash ability, imagine you wait and then you cast Ulamog during your opponent's turn, they gotta sacrifice stuff, or you cast Kozilek, cast the Emrakul that's legal. I mean, there's a billion different things you can do with this, and so it's a nice card to see, and definitely a good piece of certain combos. Abstruse Archaic is a 4-drop creature avatar with Vigilance. You pay 1 and tap it. Copy target activated or triggered ability you control from a colorless source. You may choose new targets for the copy. Kind of cool. A little restricted. You can't use it with mana abilities, so it's not like you could like tap a Soul Ring and then pay 1 and then copy it to stack it up, but there's still plenty of things you can do with this, and it's certainly neat. I don't think it's that, it's not amazing. It's definitely not on my higher end of cards revealed in the set, but it's absolutely still worth mentioning, and it's still a really solid option, and I'm sure people will find ways to inject it into certain combos, without a doubt. Desecrate Reality is a 7-drop instant. For each opponent, exile up to 1 target permanent that player controls with an even mana value. Adamant, if at least 3 colorless mana was spent to cast the spell, return a permanent card with an odd mana value from your graveyard to the battlefield. So, for 7 mana, you can remove some problematic cards on the board, and, I mean, as much as I hate to say this, technically, if your opponent doesn't have anything, you can still get rid of lands. I know, you can boo me. Land destruction is definitely not something that's very popular in Commander, but, I mean, again, at least you have options with this, and being able to have a reanimate option for colorless decks is pretty cool. This is a bit costly for what it does, but again, I don't think getting to higher mana values is super hard to do in this type of deck, so maybe that's something worth considering. Calamity of the Titans with some cool artwork for Ulamog and some funny flavor text. It says, to the Zendikari and Apocalypse, to the Eldrazi, a day like any other. A little goofy, but it's kind of funny. Calamity of the Titans, 4 and 2 wastes. As an additional cost to cast a spell, reveal a colorless creature card from your hand. Exile each creature and planeswalker with mana value less than the revealed card's mana value. Again, you're playing a lot of high-cost creatures. Not really hard to do this. Let's say you have, like, a Kozilek or an, Ulamog out. You reveal, like, say, a 7 or 8 in your hand. You can keep your creatures and exile everything else that the opponents might have out. So it's a neat, option. Again, it's going up against a card like All Is Dust, but it's still pretty good, and because it also gets rid of, planeswalkers and allows you to keep your stuff, it's definitely interesting. I actually have to say I like this better than Desecrate Reality, but I think both have their own kind of different purposes. Now, the card I think is absolutely insane. Darksteel Monolith is an 8-drop artifact with Indestructible. Once each turn, you may pay 0 rather than pay the mana cost for a colorless spell you cast from your hand. This feels like it has a crazy amount of potential. Being able to pay 0 for any colorless spell means you can cast your Eldrazi for nothing. You can cast your big cost spells for nothing, and it's not like this is hard to not only get out, but it's not a legendary artifact, so if you could duplicate it somehow, you can utilize this more than once, and that's just crazy to me. I think this card is massive, no pun intended, because it's clearly actually huge, but Darksteel Monolith to me feels like one of the standouts of this deck, and just in general, like, it has a lot of application, so I'm really, really excited for this. I think this is a really good card, and I do think if anything in the deck does end up having a higher value, this could easily be one of the contenders for that. And finally, for the last new card, and perhaps the most absurd, at least from the creatures, is Flayer of Loyalties, 8 and 2 wastes. When you cast a spell, gain control of target creature till end of turn. Untap it, give it haste, Trample, Annihilator 2, and it has base power and toughness 10-10. And then this creature itself has Annihilator 2 and Trample. This is just kind of gross. You take your opponent's creature, you give it toughness 10-10, and then it gets... Fucking, they didn't need to give it Annihilator 2. They really didn't. Because that essentially means the player's going to have to sack 2 permanents. So you're taking the opponent's creature, making them sack, and it's got haste and trample. So it's going to swing for massive damage. Thankfully, this thing doesn't have haste itself. But this is huge. I think this is a really, really good card. And it is an Eldrazi. It's one of the actual new Eldrazi's. So this is a really good one that is going to probably piss some people off in pods, because I think it's just really, really solid as an option. And the cost is not too steep for what it does. And I don't think it's going to be that hard to get out with some of the new stuff. So yeah, this one's a big one. So these are the 10 new cards. I think they're all pretty darn solid in one way or another. But let's just take a quick look at a few of the noteworthy reprints, because there are some of those in here too. All right, on the reprint front, there are some decent cards in here that maybe weren't the most expensive, but weren't super accessible either. So it's good to see those. But of note, Forsaken Monument, definitely a good one. This is from Zendikar Rising. Obviously part of the infinite combo strategies that you can do with that and Basalt Monolith. And I know there's other cards that can do it as well. That's a good one to see included in here for sure. All is Dust, a very good board wipe for colorless decks, Eldrazi, etc. Another solid inclusion. Cauldron Complete, also a mythic initially. Really good reprint in here from Modern Horizons 2? That doesn't sound right. It's probably not right, but I think it's either Modern Horizons 2 or maybe it was Zendikar. I think it was Modern Horizons 2. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But a good reprint nonetheless, a really good card and a good inclusion. And we've got Ugin the Ineffable, another one not super expensive. It's got a couple prints, but a really, really good card for colorless decks. So that along with other cards, I think Mystic Forge as well is in here. So that's a really good option too. I think the reprint value in here is pretty solid. So it's not amazing, but overall, this has to be the best of the 4 decks, right? Like with so many of the new cards actually being good, some decent reprints, and just the demand of it being Eldrazi, I think this is the first one that actually feels like it somewhat justifies that price point. Although, I still think the $80 price point is too high, but this one could end up actually paying dividends. And just a quick note, this deck is available now on Amazon for pre-order with Prime, sold by Amazon for $85. So if you've been buying this or were considering buying this like on TCG Player at like $180, that's insane. If you're really insistent on wanting to get the deck, I would check Amazon, because that's where they have it up right now, and pre-order, through Amazon. Obviously, there's been some issues with Amazon with the Lord of the Rings decks and stuff, but I've never personally had any problems. I know some people have, so just be cautious of it if that's what you decide to do. But I'd certainly, at least then if you need to get a refund, you can. It's certainly better than spending 180 plus on the deck. But I think this is really good. I don't think it saves the precons as a whole, because I think the other ones are definitely not worthy of what they're being asked. But this is a pretty freaking good deck. So let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of this. Let me know if you think this deck is good, bad, the new cards. I'm just kind of curious to hear people's thoughts. And as always, really appreciate you watching. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Click the bell icon if you want to stay notified. And feel free to join the channel if you'd like to become a member. All August, we are giving free booster packs to anyone who is a member. So that'll be a fun incentive for you to at least try it and check it out. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.